so tonight again we're doing the Refuge Prostrations, the meaning. So this is part 3. So we'll get started now. So if you don't mind, I'm going to go through this quickly, like when I do my morning practice. So introduction. For the benefit of all sentient beings, the most gracious Buddha Shakyamuni spoke the Dharma through the sutras and tantras. The 5 profound paths of Mahamudra and the 6 yogas of Naropa are the essence of the Buddha's teachings, which enable one to attain enlightenment even in one lifetime. However, to practice the path of Mahamudra and the 6 yogas of Naropa, one must be fully convinced of the 4 ways of turning the mind, or the 4 ordinary foundations. The 4 ways of turning the mind are the basis for the successful practice of any of the yanas. Then one practices the 4 extraordinary foundations, or the Vajranyana Ngondro, to purify the negative karma and obscurations of the mind, speech, and body, and to develop virtues. The great 12th century Tibetan saint, Lord Jigden Sumgun, the second Nagarjuna, said, "The Ngondro is even more important than the higher practices. One must truly understand and practice the simple yet profound foundational teachings before one begins the higher teachings." The altruistic motivation. Dagla dangwa jebe dra no par jebe gag tarpa dam dam shaken be bardu jo par jeba dam shaki so jebe manam ka dam pe sam chen dam she dewa dang dang dung na drain na du la na yak par zog pe jang shu bin po she do ba ja dagla dangwa jebe dra no par jebe gag Dorpa dang tam shaken pe bardu jo par je pa tam shaki so je pe manam ka dam pe sam chen tam she dewa dang dang dug now drang now du la na yak par zog pe jang shu bin po she do pa ja. All mother sentient beings, those enemies who hate me, obstructors who harm me, and those who create obstacles on my path to liberation and omniscience, may they experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly I will establish them in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. Deshe du sammagegi bardulu nagi somge wala ko mashe bardulu nagi somge wala ko du de ring ne sungte nima sangta samgi bardulu nagi somge wala ko. Thus, until I achieve enlightenment, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Until death, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. From now until this time tomorrow, I perform virtuous deeds with body, speech, and mind. Namke da dam yam pe sem chen tam she chok chu du som gi de shin sek pa tam she gi Giku Song Tong Yong Ten Trin Lei Tam Shegi No Worger Pa Joki Pompo Ton Chaka Chu Ta Che Jung Ne Pak Pe Ge Dun Tam Shegi Na Dag Jun Sensa Wa Dangur Par Je Pe Pa Dan Lama Dam Pa Nam La Kab Su Chio Yadam Kil Gorgi La Sok Nam La Kab Su Chio Sange Chom Den De Nam La Kab Su Chio Dempe Jo Nam La Kab Su Chio Pepege dunam la kapsu chio pa woka jojo kyo me shung yashegi cheng den den pa nam la kapsu chio jun senza wa dangur pa je pe pa den la ma dam pa nam la kapsu chio yadam kyo gorgi la sok nam la kapsu chio sange chom den de nam la kapsu chio dampe cho nam la kapsu chio Pepege dunam la kapsu chio pa woka jojo kyo me shung yashegi cheng den den dam pa nam la kapsu chio. All sentient beings, limitless as the sky, take refuge in the glorious kind Lama Vajradhara, embodiment of the body, speech, and mind, qualities and activities of the Buddhas of the 10 directions and the 3 times, source of the 84,000 categories of the teachings, and Lord of the Sanghas. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities and the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Shang Shub Ning Porji Ki Bar Zange Nam Lai Kab Su Chi To Dang Sheng Shub Sam Pa Yi So Len De Shin Kab Su Shi Jitar Nong Ki De She Ki Shang Shub Tuk Ni Ki Ba Dang Sheng Shub Sam Pe La Pa La De Dagram Zin Ne Pa Dar De Shin Dro La Ban Dan Du Shang Shub Sam Ni Ki Ki Sing De Shin Du Ni La Pa La Rim Ba Shin Du La Pa Ji O Shang Shub Ning Porji Ki Bar Zange Nam Lai Kab Su Chi To Dang Sheng Shub Sam Pa Yi So Len De Shin Gab Su Ji Jitar Nong Ki De She Ki Sheng Shub Tuk Ni Ki Ba Dang Sheng Shub Sam Pe La Pa La De Dagram Zin Ne Pa Dar De Shin Dro La Ban Dan Du Sheng Shub Sam Ni Ki Ki Sing De Shin Du Ni La Pa La Rim Ba Shin Du La Pa Ji O. Until I attain the heart of enlightenment, I take refuge in all the Buddhas. I take refuge in the Dharma, and likewise in the assembly of the Bodhisattvas. As the previous Buddhas embraced the enlightened mind and progressed on the Bodhisattva's path, I too, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give birth to bodhicitta and apply myself to accomplish the stages of the path. Sangye Cho Dang So Ki Jo Nam La Zheng Shu Ba Du Dag Ni Gab Su Ji Dag Gi Jin So Ki Pe So Nam Gi Jo La Ban Chir Sangye Ju Pa Shok Sangye Cho Dang So Ki Jo Nam La Sheng Shu Ba Du Dag Ni Gab Su Ji Dag Gi Jin So Ki Pe So Nam Gi Jo La Ban Chir Sangye Ju Pa Shok. In the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha most excellent, I take refuge until enlightenment is reached. By the merit of generosity and other good deeds, may I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings. Manam ka dam yam pe sam jen dam she de wa dang de wei gur dang dam bar jur jig do now dang do now ki gu dang draw war jur jig do now me pe de wa dang mi draw war jur jig ne ring jag dang di dang draw wei dang nam la ne bar jur jig. Manam ka dam yam pe sam jen dam she de wa dang de wei gur dang dam bar jur jig do now dang do now ki gu dang draw war jur jig do now me pe de wa dang mi draw war jur jig. Ne ring jag dang ni dang draw wei dang nam la ne par jur jig. May all mother sentient beings, boundless as the sky, have happiness and the causes of happiness. May they be liberated from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from the happiness that is free from sorrow. May they rest in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion. Shag sa wa dang shag sing so ba dang zhe su yi ran kol sing so wa yi ge wa jang zhe da gi ji sag ba dam zhe so pei shang shub chir no. Whatever merit I've gathered through prostration, offering, confession, rejoicing, beseeching, and praying for the sake of the enlightenment of all sentient beings, all this I dedicate. 4 ways of turning the mind. Oh, this kind of leisure and endowment is supremely difficult to obtain. When we obtain this body, which is easily lost, do not waste it meaninglessly, but rather use it to attain the ultimate liberation, joyous result. Contemplate precious human life. Next, the nature of all phenomena is impermanence. Death is a certainty to all who are born. Death can descend like any time, like a drop of morning dew on a blade of grass. Quick, it is time to make effort for the essence of the Dharma. I'll repeat that. The nature of all phenomena is impermanence. Death is a certainty for all who are born. Death can descend any time like a drop of morning dew on a blade of grass. Quick, it is the time to make effort for the essence of Dharma. Contemplate impermanence. Next, the fruit of one's positive karma is happiness. Suffering is the fruit of negative karma. The inexorable karmic causation is the mode of abiding of all dharmas. Henceforth, practice the Dharma by distinguishing between what should be practiced and what should be given up. Contemplate the meaning of karma, cause, and result. Next, in the three lower realms, and even in the three higher ones, there is not an instant of absolute happiness. I will avoid the root cause of my samsaric existence and practice the excellent path of peace to enlightenment. Contemplate the meaning of the suffering of samsara, or the faults of samsara. Okay. Now the Sanskrit alphabet. Oma, a, I, o, vi, li, e, o, ang, a, ga, na, za, na, da, na, da, na, ba, ma, la, wa, sa, ha, krasa, so, ha. We visualize the Vajra fence, the Dakinis all standing shoulder to shoulder, facing the inside of the circle into the heart center. Om, a, I, o, vi, li, e, o, ang, a, ga, na, za, na, da, na, ba, ma, la, wa, sa, ha, krasa, so, ha. Om, a, I, o, vi, li, e, o, ang, a, ga, na, za, na, da, na, ba, ma, Yawalawa, sa, ka, ha, kriya, so, ha. Om yadame hetu pavawa, hetu tagan tatagato, heawa tatata, tagansa, yanarada, evamwadi, mashimani, so, ha. Om yadame hetu pavawa, hetu tagan tatagato, heawa tatata, tagansa, yanarada, evamwadi, mashimani, so, ha. All phenomena arise from causes. Those causes have been taught by the Tathagata. The cessation, too, has been proclaimed by the great ascetic, the Shamaniye, Soha. Om Vajrasattva Samaya, Manu Palaya, Vajrasattva Denopa, Justadredo Mebawa, Sutokayo Mebawa, Supokayo Mebawa, Nurektu Mebawa, Sarizidi Mebrayatsa, Zara Karma Satsume. Sitsandri Yakaru Hong ha ho Bhagawan Saratada Gata Bajraba Memansi Bajraba Ma Samaya Satwaha Om Bajrasatva Samaya Manupalaya Bajrasatva Denopa Justadredo Mebawa Zudokayo Mebawa Zubokayo Mebawa Anuraktu Mebawa Zorizidi Mebrayatsa Zara Karma Satsume Sitsandri Yakaru Hong ha ho Bhagawan Saratada Gata Vajraba Memansi Vajraba Ma Samaya Satwaha. All Vajrasattva Samaya, help to protect my vow to purify myself. May you remain firm with me. Grant me the complete satisfaction. Grow with me. Be loving towards me. Grant me the attainments to master the powers beyond body and nature. Show me all the deeds of body, speech, and mind. Make my mind-heart good, virtuous, and auspicious. Revel in the bliss of the four joys, O Blessed One, who embodies the essence within me. Do not abandon me. Grant me the realization of the indestructible nature. Make me one with you. Thus I signify my unity with non-duality. Om Sambar Sambar Bhimanasar Mahazamba Hung. 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 Arising from defiled mind, be reborn in the great wisdom. Arising from a defiled mind, be reborn into great wisdom. Arising from a defiled mind, be reborn into great wisdom. Om Smar Smar Bhimanaskar Mahazambu Hung Pe. 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 Arising from defiled lives, remember and purify the flower of wisdom. Arising from defiled lives, remember and purify the flower of wisdom. Arising from defiled lives, remember and purify the flower of wisdom. Om Sambar Sambar Mahazambu Hung Pe. 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 Arising great holy wisdom, purify this life. Arising great holy wisdom, purify this life. Arising great holy wisdom, purify this life. Om Richiramana Pravataya Hong Pe. 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 The enlightened body, speech, and mind of the precious Dharma protectors, whose mirror-like wisdom is the door to purification. Om Ri Pamanoti Shwari Hong. 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 The body, speech, and mind of pure love is ultimate wisdom. Ultimate wisdom is pure love. Om Ma Hong. 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 Om Those are the opening prayers and preliminaries. Now the practice of taking refuge, the first section of the Drikung Kagyu Ngondro. The benefits of taking refuge. If the merit of taking refuge in the triple gem could manifest in form, the whole universe could not contain it. Even though attempting to describe the infinite benefits of practicing refuge is like attempting to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. There are 8 benefits as explained in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. One becomes a Buddhist. It becomes the basis of all the precepts and vows. It exhausts all previous non-virtuous deeds. It protects one from obstacles created by humans and non-human. One accomplishes all one wishes. One gathers a great amount of merit. one will not fall into the lower realms. One attains Buddhahood swiftly. Refuge practice is the essence of all other practices. Therefore, one always should emphasize this practice. It has inconceivable beneficial effects. Through this practice, one can achieve the fearless state. With one pointed mind, take refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Meditate the surroundings as inseparable from a Buddha field. In the space in front of me is a lion throne in which are a lotus, sun, and moon disk seat, in the center of which sits the kind root Lama in the form of Vajradhara with the 7 characteristics. Blue in color, 2 arms, holding a Vajra and bell, crossed at the heart and gracefully sitting in the Vajra position, adorned by the silken robes and various precious jewel ornaments and surrounded by all the lineage Lamas. In front of the lion throne is the Yidam Chakra Samvara, the male and female aspects in union, whose manifestation is simultaneously appearance and emptiness. At the right side of the throne is the assembly of the Buddhas of the 3 times, possessing all the auspicious signs of a Buddha, together with the 1,000 Buddhas of this fortunate kalpa. Behind the throne is the Prajna Paramita, proclaiming the relative and ultimate meaning of the 3 yanas. To the left of the throne is the assembly of the compassionate bodhisattvas, surrounded by the Sangha of the 3 yanas. Around the base of the throne are the Dharmapalas, an ocean of guardians, gathered like clouds. Back to page 25 in Tibet. Mei kang wo men shing dang yu mei pei, rang dun sem chen pei ma ni de tan, u su jun sen sa wei la ma ni, yan lai dun den dur jai cha gi so, no sang zang ni dur jil to kar no, shab ni dur jai kil chong ying so so, dar dang rin chen na so gen gi ze, gu pei se nen nam dang tab chin shog, dong du yidam kurlo de wa chog, yab yom nan sok sok jog yom sok so. Yasu du som sangye shen per den, Kao sang sangye tong dang lan chik shug, Yab tu she rab paro chin pe yom, Drang ne tek som choki na ro jog, Yon du se den chang sub san pe sog, Dan som ge dum nam ni yong su kyor. Tri yi sham du dam pa cho kyong wei, song ma gyat so trin trig ta bu gyur. The Refuge Prayer. Buddhas, Dharmas, Sanghas, Yidams, and Dharma protectors, to these supreme objects of refuge, for protection from the hordes of suffering of samsara, we, all migrators, go for refuge until enlightenment is attained. Buddhas, Dharma, Sanghas, Yidams, and Dharma protectors, to these supreme objects of refuge, for protection from the hordes of suffering of samsara, we, all migrators, go for refuge until enlightenment is attained. Sangye cho so yidam cho kyong che, Kyab chog nam la dak sok jo wa kun, Si pe jig sok nam ga le kyob chir, Chang shu ma to pardu kyab su chi. I rejoice when all sentient beings are happy and free from the samsaric suffering and swiftly attain ultimate Buddhahood. For this purpose, from now on until I achieve enlightenment, I will follow the path to the ultimate goal. I rejoice when all sentient beings are happy and free from the samsaric suffering and swiftly attain ultimate Buddhahood. For this purpose, from now on until I achieve enlightenment, I will follow the path to the ultimate goal. Trokon de den dugnel drawadan, nor du la me to par da gawe. De chir den ne shang shu ma to bar, ne pe don chog la lam la jog par ja. Now the refuge prayer while we do prostrations. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. We take refuge in the kind root Lama and lineage Lamas. We take refuge in the deities of the mandalas of the Yidams. We take refuge in all the exalted Buddhas. We take refuge in the perfect Dharma. We take refuge in the excellent order of the Sanghas. We take refuge in all the noble Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma guardians, possessors of the eye of wisdom. Trinsen Sawa Dengar Parje Pe Padan Lama Dampa Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Yidam Kilgorgi La Sok Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Sange Jom Dende Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Dampecho Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Papege Du Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Pawoka Jojo Kyo Mejung Yeshegi Jeng Den Dempa Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Trinsen Sawa Dengar Parje Pe Padan Lama Dampa Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Yidam Kilgorgi La Sok Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Sange Jom Dende Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Dampecho Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Papege Du Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Pawoka Jojo Kyo Mejung Yeshegi Jeng Den Dempa Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Trinsen Sawa Dengar Parje Pe Padan Lama Dampa Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Yidam Kilgorgi La Sok Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Sange Jom Dende Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Dampecho Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Papege Du Nam Lai Kapsuchi O Pawoka Jojo Kyo Mejung Yeshegi Jeng Den Dempa Nam Lai Kapsuchi O. So now we turn to the other text, to the Ngondro Refuge Practice explanations to give the meaning of the prostrations. So here the first page is the refuge prayer that we just recited. And we start on page 2, the Ngondro Refuge Practice explanations. Chag Sao, I make these offerings of prostrations and mantra recitations to purify my body, speech, and mind, to purify my mind by developing the three faiths, trusting, longing, clear in the three jewels. I stand facing north in front of the lineage tree. All peaceful deities are facing the tree, offering their many blessings. All wrathful deities are facing the outside of the tree to protect against demons, maras, obstacles, and obstructions. On my right side is the Father, whose cause is the origin of being. To the Father I offer gratitude. On my left side is the Mother, whose love is immeasurable, offering her kindness invitation. To the Mother I offer loving kindness and compassion. In front of me are all my enemies, the lower realm beings, giving cause to generate patience and practice tolerance. Behind me are all sentient beings, the higher realm beings, giving cause to be mindful of the lineage tree and Mahamudra, emptiness, clarity, and unimpededness. From my forehead emerges a white fire to purify all my past misdeeds and defilements, searing away all the negative karma and blockages of the body in order to give opportunity to manifest the 32 major and 80 minor marks of the Buddha for the benefit of the enlightenment of all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara. I sow the seeds of the Nirmanakaya, the emanation body of the Buddha, Shakyamuni. From my throat emerges a red fire to purify my speech and actions, to enhance language and accumulate the 60 melodious voices for the benefit of the enlightenment of all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara. I blossom as the flower of the Sambhogaya, the subtle enjoyment body of the Buddha Vajranyana, the 5 Buddha families. From my heart emerges a blue fire to purify my mind, to enable and develop ultimate wisdom for the benefit of the enlightenment of all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara. I bear the fruit of the Dharmakaya, the truth body of the primordial Buddha Vajradhara Samantabhadra. The 5 points to the ground purify the 5 poisons and develop the 5 wisdoms. My left hand on the ground is knowledge and fulfills the wishes of all sentient beings to be as the Buddha and practice the 4 great deeds of generosity, melodious voice, implementing the teachings, and living life as a practice in order to attract many disciples. My right hand on the ground is protection and suppresses the 1 million Maras before enlightenment, the Mara of delusion, the Mara of contamination, the Mara of controlling others, and the Mara of being controlled at the time of death. My left knee on the ground accumulates the 37 characteristics of the enlightened being, including the 8-fold path, right view, right protection, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right absorption. The 10 bhumis of the Bodhisattva, great joy that arises from the paramita of generosity, stainless that arises from the paramita of moral ethics, radiant that arises from the paramita of patience, luminous that arises from the paramita of perseverance, very difficult to train in that arises from the paramita of meditative concentration, obviously transcendent that arises from the paramita of wisdom awareness, gone afar that arises from the paramita of skillful means, immovable that arises from the paramita of aspirations, vows, and wishes, good discriminating wisdom that arises from the paramita of the 10 strengths of the Buddha, cloud of Dharma that arises from the paramita of primordial wisdom, altogether the path that leads to Buddhahood. So this is where we left off last week. So this, be mindful now, this is still the left knee on the ground. We are accumulating the 37 characteristics of the enlightened being. So these altogether comprise that. There may be some more that are listed here in the text and in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. So now, what we haven't talked about so far is we're on page 6 of this text, and the 8 great bodhisattvas. So we're visualizing the 8 great bodhisattvas within ourselves, and that this is the human being at the highest level. What it takes for human being to be able to purify all the defilements, all the mental misconceptions, all the habitual tendencies. These 8 great bodhisattvas, which are inside of us, these 8 great holy beings, are how we enable to do that. So the first is Kasiti Garbha. The first name here is the Sanskrit name. His Tibetan name is Saye Ningpo, and his meaning is the bodhisattva of cultivation. The next one is Maitreya, Gyalwa Jampa, the bodhisattva of loving kindness. The next is Akasa Garbha, Namke Ningpo, the bodhisattva of transformation. The next is Samantabhadra, Kundu Zangpo, the bodhisattva of devotion and practice. Manjushri, Jampa Yang, the bodhisattva of wisdom. Avalokiteshvara, Shenreze, the bodhisattva of skillful means and compassion. Vajrapani, Janadurje, the bodhisattva of dharma power. And Sarvanarana Vishkabin, Driva Namparsal, the Bodhisattva of Purification. So, as we've talked about before, and with the five Buddha families, that the Vajra family, the blue family, who is in the east of the wheel, of the mandala, the yellow family, that is in the south direction of the mandala, is the Ratna family, the jewel family. The Padma family is the red family that is in the western direction of the mandala, and it's the lotus flower is the symbol of that family. And then in the north, and now if I didn't say that, it's in the west, the Padma family, and then in the north is the green family, the Karma family. So each of these families has a male and a female deity that are the symbolic of the mother and the father, and represent the wisdom of the mother and the skillful means of the father. So in the blue family, in the Vajra family, it's Ascobia and Mamaki. In the yellow family, in the Ratna family, it is Ratnasambhava and Buddhalakkhana. In the Padma family, it is Amitabha and Pandarvasini. Pandarvasini is the female. And in the north family and the green family is of Amagog city and Samayatara is the female deity Samayatara, and the father deity is Amagoga city. And they have their spiritual sons, the Bodhisattvas. So each of those two families, each of those four families that I just mentioned, each have two spiritual sons. So in the blue family, Ascobia and Mamaki sometimes is Kasiti Garba and Maitreya. So Kasiti Garba, the Bodhisattva of cultivation, and Maitreya is the Bodhisattva of loving kindness. So we are cultivating ourselves, we are cultivating our lives, we are cultivating our body, speech, and mind to become proper vessels to be able to attain enlightenment, to be able to clear away all the negativity, clear away all the defilements, all the emotions, all the mental misconceptions and the habitual tendencies, to clear them all away so that we can recognize the clear light that is within us, the true nature, the Buddha nature that is within us. So that cultivation is represented by the Bodhisattva Kasiti Garba Saye Ningpo. Then Maitreya, who would be his brother, is the Bodhisattva of loving compassion. That we are having this loving compassion for ourselves. We are giving ourselves this grace. We are giving ourselves this wisdom and this knowledge to be able to do this cultivation, to be able to accumulate this, to be able to recognize this, and so on. So these are of the blue family of Ascobia and Buddhalakkhana, or Mamaki. Then, in the yellow family, facing the south, is Akasagarbha and Samantabhadra. Akasagarbha is the Bodhisattva of transformation, and Samantabhadra is the Bodhisattva of devotion and practice. So in order for us to be able to transform ourselves, we need to be devoted to our practices. We need to be devoted to our teachings. We need to be devoted to our contemplation and our meditation, and devoted to the Sangha, to the three jewels, to the lamas, to our teachers, and so on. So this is what facilitates the transformation. The transformation won't come. It won't come smoothly. It won't come easily without this cultivation that we talked about, without the loving kindness, without the devotion now to be able to make this happen. So this transformation, we need to allow this to come, and to witness this ourselves, to pay attention to the way our lives are changing, the way our attitudes are changing, our thoughts are changing, our habits are changing, and so on. So we recognize that all as transformation. So that is Akasagarbha, and Samantabhadra is the devotion part. Then the next section is the red section, is the red family. Padma is and Amitabha and Pandarvasini is the female. And the two sons are Avalokiteshvara and Manjushri. So Manjushri represents the prajna wisdom, the ultimate wisdom, the indestructible wisdom. Maitreya represents, who we talked about in the blue family, Maitreya represents the knowledge of the phenomenal nature, with an understanding that there is something that we are part of something, this ultimate wisdom. But it functions mostly in the phenomenal nature. The prajna wisdom from Maitreya, from Manjushri, now is focused on how the knowledge brings us to the threshold where we can cross over, and we can become the prajna wisdom, the perfection wisdom of Manjushri. And Avalokiteshvara, his brother, represents the compassion. Spontaneously, what happens with that realization of wisdom also comes this realization of compassion, this activity of compassion, this skillful means, the method to be able to actualize this prajna paramita, this prajna wisdom, is able to be shared with all beings and so on. So these two brothers, Manjushri and Avalokiteshvara, are very, very, very powerful in being able to now bring ourselves to this very high level now of prajna, ultimate wisdom, ultimate understanding, ultimate realization. And then the next segment is the green family, is the karma family. The father is Amagog City, and the mother is the Samayatara, and their spiritual sons are Vajrapani and Sarvanavahana Vishkabin. So the power is represented by Vajrapani. Vajrapani is very powerful. He's the only fearsome-looking deity in this group of the eight great bodhisattvas. He's standing in a forceful dancing position, and his one hand is out holding the vajra like this, and the other hand is holding a rope, is holding a lasso, so that he can be victorious over negativity, over defilements, and so on. So he represents the power of the Dharma practices, the power of the Dharma teachings, the power of enlightenment, of being on the path and being able to overcome our human frailties. Sarvanavahana Vishkabin, his brother, represents the purification process that has been taking place during all of this. And he represents the transformation that comes by way of the purification. So by the practices that we do, by the contemplations that we make, the meditations that we make, comes the purification of our body, the purification of our intellectual mind, and the purification of our heart center, so that now we become a proper vessel, so that now we can become enlightened, that we can become a wholly enlightened being. We ourselves become a bodhisattva, and ultimately to become a Buddha ourselves. So these are the 8 great bodhisattvas. So this is all still visualizing the 37 characteristics of the bodhisattva. But we're the 37 characteristics of enlightenment, or 37, excuse me, of enlightenment. So this is all tied up in the right knee, excuse me, the left knee touching the ground. Or no, it was the right knee. Left knee. Sorry. Any questions or anything so far? Am I going too fast?
This is Vajrapani, right?
Beg pardon?
That's Vajrapani, right?
I can't see that very well.
Oh.
He's got a blue-black body, and he's standing, and his hair seems to be on fire. He's got a fire. On the back side, isn't his name on the back side of that card?
Well, it's on the front side, too.
Oh, okay. Well, then.
It's Vajrapani.
Very good.
Vajrapat, and he's on fire, and he looks pretty fierce.
Yes, he's fierce. He represents great power, great compassion power, wisdom power, to be able to overcome our most stubborn afflictions.
I need to put him on the wall.
Put him in your heart, in your heart center, on your head. Vajrapani is very powerful, and to be mindful of Vajrapani and to invoke the power of Vajrapani with every practice that we do, every teaching that we do. Okay, so this is all the left knee on the ground. So we're bringing this in. Remember, the left side we're bringing in. So we're bringing in our awareness of these 37 characteristics of enlightenment, so that we can recognize these, we can see these, we can see what we need some work in. We can see our weaknesses, we can see our strengths, and so it helps us to do this. So it's mindfulness, that we're building mindfulness throughout this whole process. And remember, this is the refuge part of the Ngondro. So this is this is the part where we are taking refuge in the lineage tree, in all the deities and the lineage family and so on like that. So this is very important to be mindful of that we're purifying, or rather we're taking refuge in this understanding. So next we come to the right knee on the ground. So the right knee on the ground now protects against the sufferings of the 6 realms of samsara. So it's a protection. So the sufferings, so it's the all-pervading suffering of composite phenomena, the suffering of change, the suffering of birth, old age, sickness, and death, the desire of the human realm, the suffering of the ignorance of the animal realm, the suffering of greed of the hungry ghost realm, the suffering of anger of the hell realms, and the conflict and jealousy of the demigod realm, and the pride and ignorance of the deva realm. So this is very important. You know, we should know this very well. We should be able to memorize all these things, at least to have a very good mindfulness of where we can get this information very quickly and very easily, and something that we've meditated on time and time again. So these are the sufferings. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So it's 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Right. So it's the sufferings, the five poisons. The 5 poisons are listed here, and also the 4 sufferings that are unique to human beings. So that's the the all-pervading suffering of composite phenomena, the suffering of change, the suffering of birth, old age, sickness, and death, and the so it's the six realms of the human being, excuse me, and it's the three sufferings that are being explained here. So becoming familiar with these. We've talked about these in prior classes, so you should have notes on this, you should have information on this, you can look this up in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. So this is the right knee touching the ground to protect against the suffering of the six realms of samsara. So on this one page is a lot of contemplation. There's a lot of visualization. With the other pages, there were several more pages that were involved with the 37 characteristics. But with here, it's just these 9, and so we should spend time contemplating these. So now we come to the next part. So now we've got both hands on the ground. We've got both knees on the ground. So now I lie flat, touching my forehead to the ground. So we're sliding our hands forward. Our chest, our body is lying on the ground. Our forehead is on the ground. And we can extend our hands out in front of our head. And we're gathering the blessings and bringing the blessings of the lineage tree, which we are standing in front of, and we're bringing those blessings into our crown. It comes down and through the center of our body to our heart center. So it says here, I lie flat, touching my forehead to the ground. In order to manifest the 32 major marks of the Buddha, the ulna symbolizes the wisdom eye at the forehead, and the Ushnisha, the protrusion at the top of the head, that symbolizes the power of Dharma teachings. So our forehead touches the ground in order to manifest the 32 major marks of the Buddha. So again, you can look this up in the Jewel Ornament of Liberation. These are physical characteristics, like the Buddha has long earlobes. He's got a little hair that is in between his eyes here. He has very straight, beautiful teeth. He has very strong hands. He has feet that are very broad and very powerful, and his toes are almost like web-like and so on. So there's many strong features, physical features that the Buddha has because he has a perfect body. So we should recognize that, and whether or not we actually have those ourselves, or it's something that we visualize that we are becoming the Buddha, and that we will attain these 37, these 32 major marks of the Buddha. So the ulna is that little hair that is down in between the eyebrows of the Buddha. And that ulna represents the wisdom eye. So you've heard reference, to this, to an eye here. You've seen pictures of this and so on. So this is the wisdom eye. This ulna represents that wisdom eye in the Buddha. The Ushnisha is the protrusion at the top of the head. So in the in Tibetan Buddhism, with the Tibetan Buddhas, all the illustrations of the Buddhas, you see that they all have this Ushnisha. They have this top knot, and it's not just their hair, but it's their head comes up to a point, and this protrusion at the top that symbolizes the power of the Dharma teachings. So I can't say that I know exactly where that comes from. Did it come from from India? Was that part of the the iconography of the Hindu traditions and so on? Maybe so, but I don't know. But we know that this Ushnisha represents this the power of Dharma teaching, Dharma knowledge is what is represented by that. So you can look at Buddha's characterizations, illustrations, statues, and so on from other countries, and you're not likely to see that. They may have a normal kind of a flat head like we have, but in the Tibetan Buddhists, you'll see that they all have this Ushnisha, So we begin to visualize that with ourselves. We begin to visualize the wisdom eye, Ulna. We visualize the 32 major marks of the Buddha. So all this is by touching our forehead to the ground, gathering the blessings, and bringing all this into ourselves. So next, now, we stand straight. We come back up, and we're standing straight. And as we stand straight, it arises the joyous nature of compassion and union of all sentient beings in the 6 realms of samsara and enlightenment. This is a very important feature. When we stand up now and Om, Ah, Hum, so we're bringing the joyous nature of compassion and union, compassion for all beings, and the union with all sentient beings. So it's not just for us, it's the union with all beings. So it's the union of compassion and wisdom in union with all sentient beings in the 6 realms. So earlier when we were standing before we began to do the 5-point prostration, we were visualizing all those beings. Now we're standing up, and now we are visualizing ourselves as the Buddha, bringing all this together, as a holy enlightened being, bringing all this together. So we're standing straight, saying this. And it says, I stand as the lineage tree. So now we become the embodiment of the lineage tree. We become the embodiment of all the masters, all the lineage masters, all the great teachers, all the great lamas and so on. We become the embodiment of all the Buddhas. We become the embodiment of all the Bodhisattvas. We become the embodiment of the Prajna Paramita that are all part of the visualization of the lineage tree. So I become the lineage tree. Om, Ah, Hum. I become the lineage tree. And now all merit to Dorje Chang. All merit to Vajradhara, Dorje Chang, who is in the center of the tree. And Dorje Chang, remember, is the primordial Buddha. So pure, unborn, is the essence of bodhicitta that is within each one of us. So all the merit goes to Dorje Chang. It is through Dorje Chang's compassion that we are able to have this life in order to recognize the defilements and so on, and to be able to purify ourselves to become as Dorje Chang, as to become as a bodhisattva, as a Buddha. So all merit to Dorje Chang. And then all merit from the root lama to you. So then you visualize your root lama, whoever it may be. Maybe it's Jigden Sumgun, who is at the top of the tree, the top part of the tree on our picture is Jigden Sumgun. So you can visualize him as the root lama. You can visualize Buddha Shakyamuni as the root lama if you care to, or if you have an immediate root lama who you regard that way, then you can visualize all merit from the root lama to you, that all the compassion, all the wisdom, all the teaching, everything that the root lama has imparted to you, that you're recognizing all that merit from the root lama is coming to you. So, and the root lama has, Dorje Chang has Vajradhara in his heart center, and it's coming into you. So now that completes the visualization of the prostration. Then we do the next prostration. We continue doing the prostrations, doing our accumulation while we're reciting the long refuge prayer. You know, Tristan Sawa Denker Par Jepe Paldan Lama Dampa Namla Kapsu Chio. So we can recite that. We can recite the English translation of that. It's best to do the Tibetan, but to get to know it, we need to understand it, you know, with our brain, with our heart. So we need to understand the meaning of it in English. So we need to memorize that. We also need to memorize it in the Tibetan. So remember, we're accumulating 100,000 prostrations. So we have plenty of time to devote to doing this. It also would be very good to be able to at least familiarize yourself very deeply with the meaning of the prostrations. So if you can keep these cards nearby when you're doing your prostrations, and as you begin to do your prostrations for your given session, that you recite the meaning of all these just as they're printed here on the cards to help you to become the mindful of the meaning of the prostrations and so on. And then when you feel comfortable with that, then you switch over and you continue to do the long refuge prayer. All the time you're doing prostrations. So as I've said several times, and as you've heard from others, that the first 10,000, of course, is the most difficult. You know, you're putting all these things together, you're getting your rhythm together, you're memorizing all this, and so the first 10,000 is the most difficult. It takes the longest to do as a block. The second 10,000 goes much quicker, and the 10,000 after that goes much quicker after that. So so don't lose your enthusiasm for this. It is a healthy practice that promotes good body health. It is great for your mind, for your brain, because it's giving you all this new stuff, all these new synapses start firing, you know, and it's very healthy to keep your brain youthful and agile and so on to do this. So we don't get lazy and lethargic and not, you know, challenging our brain. So we're challenging our body, we're challenging our brain, and we're opening up our heart while we are doing this practice. So it's a holistic practice that brings the body, speech, and mind together. So here on page 9, you can see the English is written again, and and if you turn to page 10 is the Tibetan on page 10. So you have a quick and easy reference for this. Oh, you know, I see on page 11 and 12, excuse me, I forgot this. When we go back to page 5, when we were talking about the 10 bhumis of the Bodhisattva, with our left knee touching the ground, and with good discriminating wisdom that arises from the paramita of the 10 strengths of the Buddha, then that the 10 strengths and the 10 powers are listed on pages 11 and 12. So we can review this real quick. Any questions or comments from what we've said so far? I mean, how does this land on you? Adrian, what do you think?
It's just going to be a matter of doing it, just doing the practice. It's very clear. It's very clear and beautiful practice. So,
is it something that you think that you might want to be able to engage in?
yeah.
Good. Tom, how about you? I know you're in the midst of doing it now, aren't you?
Yes, and sometimes you'll be tested. Oh, there's a lot. The Maras will test you. Oh, they will. Oh man, all kinds of thoughts will start coming into your head, and then you start asking, why am I doing this? Well, why can't I just sleep in? Oh yeah, I mean, you got to persevere through that. I mean, I can see when you're doing all these visualizations. I mean, it's just it's a lot going on. Like you said, the first 10,000, you're really asking yourself, why am I doing this? I mean, really, is this necessary? Is this really necessary? And then on the second 10,000, you start really realizing it is necessary. And on the third 10,000, you're completely committed to it.
Where are you now?
Oh, I'm up to about a little bit over 40,000.
Well, now that you know all this, you can start over again.
Certainly. You know what?
I'm only teasing. But
Once you start this, it is your practice every single day. Even if you fulfill the 111,000, you're still inspired to do this.
How are you counting the prostrations? What technique are you using?
I use
1, 2,
oh
3.
If you're counting like that, you'll lose visualization. I mean, I use pencils.
You use what?
I have 10 pencils that I have on my right. Then I have 10 little pieces of cardboard that I have on my left. So when I move these 10 pencils from my right to my left, I get one of these cardboards and put it on to my right. That means 10. So I'll do 108. And then some mornings I'll do 216.
Good.
But the more you concentrate, and then after you do this, and you're just, you are sweated up. Your sweat is just pouring off of you. During the summertime. Oh, and then sit down right afterwards, and start meditating. It just flows. Everything is it just flows. I mean, I have no other word for it. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
Good for you. Gary, what do you think about this? Now, I know,
The full prostration is physically hard for me because at some point lifting weights earlier this year, I injured my back, and I try to do it, but I'm having difficulty with the prostration. So sometimes I just get down and on my knees and hands and put my head on the floor and try to do it that way. But I really haven't gotten very many. I haven't gotten more than a few hundred because there's just been some pain involved, and I've got to do something about it.
well, don't hurt yourself. You don't want to do that. Don't hurt yourself. And if
I think I already have, but I can't. I haven't really gone to the doctor because I don't want to get something else by going to the doctor. We're constrained by. I don't trust going to the doctor now.
All right. Well.
Yeah, but I'm working on it. But I'm nowhere close to really having a good beginning. I'm just trying to get the understanding of what to do. Okay. And sometimes I go entirely flat, but it just depends on what's going on with me, what I've done.
Well, there's no obligation, but if you can do something, it's good. And the cruise, it's creating good karma for ourselves and merit, and so that in the next life, however we manifest it, it comes quicker and easier for us by whatever it is that we have accumulated here. So whatever you can do is good.
Well, I just hope I don't go backwards. I'm trying to go forward.
Well, I don't think you're going to do that. So I know that Bhavani and Shankara, William and Bonnie, are watching. They're listening to us and so on, and so I know you guys are doing what you can, and that's good. So this is a very powerful practice, because of its strenuousness, and doing this with our physical body. And part of the reason for this is to break through our attachments to, oh, I can't do that, and and not to, in the West, we don't want to be bowing, we don't want to be supplicating to other beings or anything like that. We're taught not to do that in most cases. But here we're breaking through that by, doing prostrations in front of the lineage tree and showing our respect and to become a proper vessel to help us to overcome our egos.
It's a wonderful way to humble yourself. Really, it is. Really, it is.
Yes.
It really putting that forehead and that nose into the ground. There's a humbling feeling there.
Yes.
And when you feel that when you humble yourself like that, your devotion just goes, tears will start coming out,
It's
Really.
transformative, isn't it? I mean, it really is. And as you say, and there's emotion that comes with it too. Yes.
There's a lot of emotion there. Oh, it starts flowing, it really does.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Well, I did 30 one day, which I've never done again, but I fell asleep afterwards. The idea was to meditate, but I must confess that I sat down and then I said, well, I'm going to meditate lying down. Well, I can report that that was an utter failure. I was gone. So that's just where I am, not very far.
What time of day? What time of day were you doing your prostrations like that?
Uh, that was probably in mid-afternoon.
Okay.
That particular one, if I can do 10, I just don't want to get to the point where I do something and can't do any. I've just got to figure out, because this time last year I had no pain anywhere at all. I just did something to myself, and you know how it is when you're used to one workout routine, which I was when I was at the Department of Commerce using different types of machines. And then I changed. I got some free weights here at home, and I really wasn't used to using them. And no matter what age you are, it just takes once with free weights, and it's a long road back. But I'm still trying to do it. I do what I can, and
Well, try first thing in the morning if you can, if that's convenient for you. But that's usually the best time, when you're fresh and so on, and before you have breakfast, before you eat something, I think traditionally that is recognized as being the best time to do these kinds of practices.
okay.
After you've had a meal, after things have been happening during the day, in the middle of the day, that's when, there's a lot of noise going on. So if you can do it before all that stuff starts, this sets up the whole rest of the day, and so if you have the ability to be able to, develop that kind of a practice, I think you might find that helpful, and report back and let us know how that works out for you.
Thomas, I have a quick question for you. How does this practice, the prostration, help you with your other practices?
Puts everything in focus.
Well, through devotion, through understanding the meaning of all this, understanding what the lineage is. It's building your knowledge of what all this is, and your conviction of what all this is, and your motivation for wanting to be part of that. I mean, that's what I think.
Oh, certainly. I mean, like I said, you're more you do it, the devotion becomes just so deep, you know, and so profound that, you know, that like I said, initially you're forcing yourself trying to do this. And then after, you know, a certain amount, you want to do this.
Yeah, you're
You know?
really investing in it, you know, and you're investing time, you're investing energy, and you're making changes in your life, and you see that you enjoy the after a time you see that you enjoy the change. I think that's what Tom is talking about. You want to do these things. When you don't do these, when you don't do your daily practice, you really feel like you missed something.
Oh, it throws my whole day off, you know. And one of the side benefits of doing all these prostrations and such is your body will get very strong. Just going up and down your legs, your back, your chest. I mean, it's it mentally becomes so sharp, you know, everything becomes so vivid, you know. It's clarity. It's really, I mean, you get clarity like you've never had clarity before, you
Yeah,
know.
so the benefits are listed on the first page of the Refuge Prostration. It says that here are the eight benefits, and it's true. I mean, that's what they are, you know. So and it helps everything else that you do, all your other practices. The next one we're going to do after this, we'll continue this for a little bit, but then we're going to do the Vajrasattva Purification. So we'll do that together. And those two practices, the Vajrasattva and the refuge part, can be done more or less simultaneously. In other words, if you want to spend a month doing refuge prostrations and then take off and do a month of Vajrasattva, you can do that. You know, so you can do those two because they kind of work together. Taking refuge and purifying definitely go together with each other. So I hope that answers the question. You know that this really helps everything else that we do. These are the foundational practices. I mean, that's what they're called. These are the uncommon preliminary practices. They're uncommon because they are so foundational. They're so important. Most people won't do these things.
And it's funny that some mornings when I get up, man, I'm aching in my shoulder, this and that. Once I get into it and start doing about 20, 30, 40, the pain's gone,
It loosens up.
completely gone.
So you do about 100 a day, Tom?
I do 108 in the morning. That's just every morning I do
Yeah.
100, you know.
So I mean, I've done it in the past too, where I've done 100 and 200 in one session. It's not at least for me, it's not physically challenging
Oh,
to do that many. Um, but right now I guess we're going through this teachings, and I'm realizing more of the importance of where they belong, where this practice belongs in the big picture of it all.
mhm.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it sets up a great foundation for any other practice that you want to do. That, you know, this is a very strong base.
How much time do you have to spend doing it? You know, you got to be practical about it and say, well, do I have a half hour? Do I have an hour? You know, how much time can you dedicate to this?
So every morning, doing the whole practice, the whole between the prostrations, the meditation, the readings and everything, usually takes me 3.5 hours
Whoa.
every single morning.
Well, that's really good that you can do that.
Well, I mean, that's why I try to get up around 4:30 in the morning and get started, you know. And usually, by the time I shower and everything else, it's 9 o'clock when I'm out the door. So, but if I don't do it, it throws my whole day off, my whole routine off, you know. So it's like I said, initially it's hard. It's really hard getting yourself started, you know.
Yeah.
Because your body and your mind is like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
What time do you go to bed?
Midnight. Around
Yeah,
midnight.
you don't sleep much. You've said before you only sleep a couple, 3 hours, 4 hours.
3 4 hours, yeah, I'm pretty good, And if I sleep 5 hours, boy, I feel like, wow, this is weird, It's like, but
That'll change some in time, Tom.
oh,
I
actually,
remember those days.
like I said, when I was younger, oh boy, I used to sleep 7, 8, 9, 10 hours sometimes, And then it seems like as I'm getting older and doing more practice, it just, like Lance said, when I first started, he was like, go to bed early, try to get up early, and start your practices early. It's I mean, everything he said is coming into focus. Initially it's like, oh man, it's it's hard, but
Adrian, how much time do you have? Are you able to devote to practice?
It's hard to tell. When I was in Costa Rica, it was a blessing for me because I didn't have to worry about any of the things, well, or just a little bit of the things that I have to do, for my work. But keeping up with two jobs is a little bit challenging. And I usually have like, sometimes 12 hours a day that I'm working, and there's not a single dull moment in my day. After I finish this, usually I go and spend some time with my kids, my family, and I consider that part of something that I need to do, even though I have stuff to do for work. I force myself, even though I have to play a video game with my son, or do something else, jump on the trampoline with the kids. I do that, and then check emails, do estimates, do this and that, review a behavior plan. For practice, I usually try to hit about an hour in the morning, and I used to do about an hour, before going to bed. It got a little bit less, but also, considering the times that I'm putting into this, joining these classes, it's between half an hour, um, um, each at the beginning of the day, and at the end of the day. So I'll say about an hour. I can definitely do more, and I feel like I can do more. It's just the business. It's yeah. So just like I was texting you the other day, I was like, I'm ready to do the, I'm ready to do the class, and I was like, I realized that, hey, no, it was not, it was not time to do that. So, but yeah.
All right. Well, very good. All right. So I'm not going to go through reading pages 11 and 12. I think that if you will spend some time contemplating this, reading this yourself, and contemplating this, I don't think it's something that we need to memorize, but I think it's stuff that we will familiarize ourselves, something that it will trigger some thoughts in our minds and help with conviction and be able to see what it is that we're trying to develop here. Because here it's the powers of the Buddha and the strengths of the Buddha. So and we have Buddha within us. So these become examples for us. That's what the Buddhas are all about. Teata Pensa Driva Awa Buddha Nea Soha. This is it. The Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas of the five families and the three times have destroyed defilement and lead us to the equipoise of the enlightened mind. It's through them that we learn how to be a Buddha. So all these steps that we're taking are the necessary ingredients to get us to those points and so on. So we're learning from the Buddhas. Okay, so anything else anybody want to discuss or questions you have before we move on into practice?
Lance, my phone is starting to go.
Okay. Well, then,
But while I have a moment, I just want to ask one more question about prostrations.
Sure.
before this thing craps out on me.
Yeah.
So the 5-pointed with just the head on the floor, if you can't prostrate all the way out, that is acceptable.
Yes. You can stay on your knees.
Yes,
Stay on your knees. Put your hands down in front of your knees, and then
and the head on the floor.
and then your head on the floor. Then you get up, and then you go. You know, Om Ahong, Om
Uh-huh.
Ahong. You know, so you're doing that. Yes.
So if I go flat out and then I decide I can't do that anymore, I can just do the 5-point and change, sort of switch off, and that doesn't.
Absolutely. Start off just doing the 5-point. Don't even try and stretch out yet. Just start off doing the easiest first, and then as you feel more comfortable, more confident,
Okay.
then you can start doing the more strenuous things. But start off easy first.
Okay. I'm sorry I have to go. I'm sorry this is not working. You know, I
Sure.
thought I'd fully charged it, but
No problem. We'll talk to you tomorrow. I hope you can join us for the
yeah,
film tomorrow.
yeah, I will be on. They were supposed to be here at 9 in the morning. Apparently, it's a neighborhood wide thing, but
All right. Good luck.
thank you.
All right. You do your dedication. Read the dedication prayers when you sign off.
Okay, I will do that.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts or things you want to talk before we continue? All right. So now we will have finished our prostrations for the session. On the bottom of page 31, now back in the red book, in the red text, at the bottom it says, recite the refuge prayer as many times as possible. Meditate that the refuge visualization dissolves into oneself and oneself dissolves into emptiness. Rest in this natural state. So when you first come back and you're sitting down after doing your session of prostrations, your breathing is going to be labored and so on. So you're just sitting and collecting yourself, and you may find that you have this, this kind of out of body kind of a thing. You get this buzz, and it can be very good, and you can just allow that to manifest. And but we shouldn't. This isn't the time to get caught up in that meditation at this point. We just want to bring it together, and then we go and we recite the rest of the practice, and then we do our dissolution at the end of this next part here when we do these next prayers. So you'll see when the meditation actually comes after we've caught our breath and everything. So now I'm on page 32. So now we're visualizing the Vajra fence, and now it's the protective fence. And so with our left hand, we're offering protection. With our right hand, we're making the offering to all beings, and all the dakinis are all standing shoulder to shoulder, facing the outside of the circle, in order to offer protection for those that are inside, and to bring those that want to come in, to welcome them and to offer protection for them so that they can come into the protection fence themselves. So we recite that. Om I U Vi Vi Li O Ang Ga Ga Na Za 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 Na Da 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 Na Da 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 Na Ba 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 Ma Ya Wa La Wa Sa Sa Ha Ka Sa So Ha Om I U Vi Vi Li O Ang Ga 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 Na Za 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 Na Da 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 Na Da 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 Na Ba 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 Ma Ya Wa La Wa Sa Sa Ha Ka Sa So Ha Om U Vi Vi Li O Ang Ga 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 Na Za 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 Na Da 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 Na Da 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 Na Ba 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 Ma Ya Wa La Wa Sa Sa Ha Ka Sa So Ha. Om Yadharma Hetu Prabhava Hetu Tekan Tadagato Hail Watata Takansa Yanarada Evam Wadi Mashamani Soha Om Yadharma Hetu Pavawa Hetu Dagan Tadagato Heo Watata Dagansa Yonarada Evamwadi Mashimani Soha. Om Yadharma Hetu Pavawa Hetu Dagan Tadagato Heo Watata Dagansa Yonarada Evamwadi Mashimani Soha. So then we do the 100-syllable purification mantra. The first time we did it, at the beginning of the practice, we're purifying all the noise and all the stuff that we're bringing in to do the practice. Now at the end of the practice, now we're reciting the 100-syllable mantra to purify whatever mistakes we might have made. Whatever things we weren't paying attention to, things that we might not have recited properly, etc. So we're purifying our mistakes at this point. We say Om Vajrasattva Zamaya Manubaliya Vajrasattva Danuba Judadedo Mebawa Zudogaya Mebawa Zubogaya Mebawa Anurektu Mebawa Soy City Mebrayata Sora Karma Satsume Sitadriya Guru Hong Ha Ha Ho Bhagawan Sora Tadagata Bazabame Manji Bajribava Zamaya Sawaha Om Vajrasattva Zamaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Danuba Judadedo Mebawa Zudogaya Mebawa Zubogaya Mebawa Nurektu Mebawa Sora City Mebrayata Sora Karma Satsume Sitadriya Guru Hong Ha Ha Ho Bhagawan Sora Tadagata Bazabame Manji Bajribava Zamaya Satwaha Om Vajrasattva Zamaya Manubalaya Vajrasattva Danuba Judadedo Mebawa Zudogaya Mebawa Zubogaya Mebawa Nurektu Mebawa Sora City Mebrayata Sora Karma Satsume Sitadriya Guru Hong Ha Ha Ho Bhagawan Sora Tadagata Bazabame Manji Bajribava Zamaya Satwaha. Now we go to page 35. And these are the mantras for multiplying the practice. So the first one is Teata Pensa Driva Awa Buddhanea Soha. 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 This is it. The Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 5 families and the 3 times who have destroyed all defilements lead to equipoise of the enlightened mind. So it's through their example, through their teaching, through our manifesting that, recognizing that within our body, within our own self, that leads us to equipoise, leads us to the meditative mind, leads us to balance, leads us to enlightenment. Then Om Ruru Daru Muki Muki Soha 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 Om Ruru Daru Muki Muki Soha. The enlightened body, speech, and mind of the peaceful and wrathful deities is the Buddha. Om Dai Dai Ben Dai Soha Om Dai Dai Ben Dai Soha Dai Dai Ben Dai Soha Om Dai Dai Ben Dai Soha 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 Dai Dai Ben Dai Soha. The body, speech, and mind of the Buddha is, the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha is the cause for enlightenment of all sentient beings. So Om Ah Hong, the body, speech, and mind of the Buddha, is the cause for enlightenment for all sentient beings. Everything that the Buddha does with the body, speech, and mind becomes for the benefit of others. Om Hanubashabara Hridaya So 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 Om Hanubashabara Hridaya So. The bliss and strength of the Buddha, the bliss and strength in the heart center of the Buddha is equipoise. So as we're doing this, our bliss and our strength becomes greater and greater and greater, stronger and stronger and stronger. And this is the equipoise. This is the equipoise of the Buddha. We see ourselves transforming into the Buddha. And then Om Ah Hong 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 So now at the bottom in italics it says, visualize with faith that the root Lama is present in the sky in front, surrounded by assemblies of Yidam deities and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. So now we're visualizing Vajradhara and all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas all in front of us. And then we go to the next page, and here is the dissolution. The objects of refuge dissolve into the main figure, Vajradhara, and he dissolves into your crown. So all the lineage tree, all the lamas, all the yidams, all the deities, the dharma powers, all this, all transform into light, dissolve into Vajradhara. Vajradhara dissolves into light, dissolves into the crown of our head, down into our heart center. And then we do our meditation. We recite in Tibet. Kyabyo Kornam So Wodang Deyang Wudu Sune Rang La Timpagyo. And now we do our meditation. Visualizing all the wheel, the mandala, all dissolving, all coming into Vajradhara, Dorje Chang, coming into our heart center. So for however long we can meditate, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you have time for. And then we come out of the meditation and we visualize ourselves as the embodiment of the lineage tree again. And then we do our dedication prayers. Dorje Chang, Talopa, Naropa, Marpa, Milarepa, Dharma Lorgan Popa, Pagmadrupa, Lordri Kompa. Please bestow upon us the auspicious blessing of all the Kagyu Lamas. By this virtue may I achieve the all-knowing state, and may all who travel on the waves of birth, old age, sickness, and death cross the ocean of samsara by defeating all enemies, confusion, the cause of suffering. Bodhicitta, the excellent and precious mind, where it is unborn may it arise, where it is born may it not decline, but ever increase higher and higher. If you have time to recite this particular part in Tibet, it's very powerful. Shangshu Samcho Grimposhe Ma Ke Panam Ke Gorji Ke Panam Pa Me Pa Yang Gone Gondu Pelwasho times. Shang Shu Sam Cho Grimpo She Ma Ke Pa Nam Ke Gur Chi Ke Pa Nam Pa Me Pa Yang Gon Ne Gon Du Pa Wa Sho Shang Shu Sam Cho Grimpo She Ma Ke Pa Nam Ke Gyor Chi Ke Pa Nam Pa Me Pa Yang Gon Ne Gon Du Pa Wa Sho. Back to page 39. I pray that the Lama may have good health. I pray that the Lama may have long life. I pray that your Dharma activities spread far and wide. I pray that I may not be separated from you. As Manjushri and likewise Samantabhadra realize the ultimate state, Buddhahood, I will follow in their path and share the merit for all sentient beings. By the blessing of the Buddha who attained the three kayas, by the blessing of the truth of the unchanging Dharma as such, by the blessing of the indivisible Sangha order, may the merit I share bear fruit. By the virtues collected into three times by myself and all beings in Samsara and Nirvana, and by the innate word of virtue, may I and all sentient beings quickly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious enlightenment. May the teachings of the great Trikumpa Ratna Shri, who is omniscient, Lord of the Dharma, Master of interdependence, continue and increase through practice, study, contemplation, and meditation until the end of samsara. You have time to recite this in Tibet. You have time to go back to page 41 in Tibet. Dak dang korde tam shegi du sam du sat pa dan yo pege we sawadi dag den sem chen tam she nor du la na me pa yang dag par zog pe zhang ju brin po she do pa jo chi she ja kon je kon gen so ki je Tendrel ne la wang dru dri kompa Rin chen pa gi ten pa si te bar Se dru to sam gong pe zin yor chi. Glorious, holy, venerable, precious, kind root, and lineage lamas, divine assembly of yidams and assemblies of Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Yogins, Yoginis, and Dakinis, dwelling in the 10 directions, please hear my prayer. May the virtues collected into 3 times by myself and all sentient beings in samsara and nirvana, and the innate word of virtue, not result in the 8 worldly concerns, the 4 causes of samsara, or rebirth as a Sravaka or Pratyeka Buddha. May all mother sentient beings, especially those enemies who hate me and mine, obstructors who harm, misleading Mars and the hordes of demons, experience happiness, be separated from suffering, and swiftly attain unsurpassed, perfect, complete, and precious Buddhahood. By the power of this vast root of virtue, may I benefit all beings through my body, speech, and mind. May the afflictions of desire, hatred, ignorance, arrogance, and jealousy not arise in my mind. May attachment to fame, reputation, wealth, honor, and concern for this life not arise for even a moment. May my mind stream be moistened by loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta, and through that may I become a spiritual master with good qualities equal to the infinity of space. May I gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra in this very life. May the torment of suffering not arise even at the time of my death. May I not die with negative thoughts. May I not die confused by wrong view. May I not experience an untimely death. May I die joyfully and happily in the great luminosity of the mind as such and the pervading quality of Dharmata. May I in any case gain the supreme attainment of Mahamudra at the time of death or in the bardo. Om, Ah, Hom. Om, Ah, Hom. Om, Ah, Hom. May my body, speech, and mind become inseparable with the body, speech, and mind of all the enlightened ones. Thank you very much for your attention and questions and thoughtfulness.
Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful.
Very good. Thank you. Bhavani and Shankara, I hope you guys are okay.
Everybody have a good night.
All right. Thank you so much. I hope you can join us tomorrow night. And maybe you think Aiden and
Ruby.
Ruby, thank you. I was going to say Bella. Ruby are going to, they might be interested. They might enjoy seeing this
I'll let them know.
because it starts off with the early life of Milarepa. So as children and so on. So it's very interesting. They might enjoy it.
Yep. I'll let them know for sure.
All right. Very good. All right. Thank you both very much.
Good night. Thank you, Lance. Thank you for the teachings.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Good night. Be safe. I hope William is feeling better.
Are you, William?
I'm feeling a tad better, but
Yeah.
All right. Have another glass of hot water.
Yeah, I just gave him another one. I put a little bit of lemon in it that he said felt good.
Yeah. Get some Tums.
Sometimes I don't want to go out to the store.
Well, I know you're not going to do that now, but next time you go out, get a bottle of Tums and keep them around. 750 milligrams.
Okay.
And I swear by them. And I've got Barrett's disease.
What is that?
That is when you get indigestion to the point that the cells of the esophagus become squamish cells. And they become, then I get an endoscopy every couple of years to check on the progress of that to make sure they haven't become cancer.
Oh, boy.
Yes. So, the doctor never explained it to me how bad what GERD is, what indigestion is. And I said, well, why didn't you tell me this before? And, he said the dumbest thing to me, well, why didn't you ask me? And that just drives me up the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you even ask something you don't know about?
Yeah. So, but anyway, but that's why I take the pantoprazole because of
Oh,
the
that's
GERD.
what William takes. That's what William takes every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so.
Yeah, that's what he takes every day. It's just every once in a while something like that happens, and
I know.
this is more intense than it has been, so it's concerning, of course.
Keep some Tums around.
I used to have that for my mom when my mom lived with us. I will. Thank you.
Alrighty. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you. I'll see
Good
you
night.
tomorrow, I hope.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye. Okay.
Good night, Thomas.
Hey, good night, guys. You guys take care.